I was one of the first Emirati and Khaliji women to compete in CrossFit and in Olympic weightlifting back in 2011. My story did not start from a place of power. My story started from a place where I was dealing with severe depression and anxiety when I was a teenager, and I was feeling very unwell, quite unhappy, quite extreme depression, actually. And one day I decided to change that feeling, and I went for a walk around a park nearby. And that walk changed my life because I realized the power I have inside of me to change my reality. And by taking the right steps, the right action in our lives, we have the power and the ability to change the narrative of our own story. And that's the beginning of my story.
But even before then, so you were born in UAE,
Mm-hmm.
specifically in Dubai, or?
Yes, I am a Emirati. I'm born in Dubai, and I've been living here my whole life, except for 1 year. I lived in the United States, and I have sisters and a brother. Family is here. Used to be a journalist before I did sports, so that was my career, athletic career.
And what's the build up then into from this upbringing into the unconventional achievements of the Olympic weightlifting, the CrossFit, and even the journalism that you mentioned, the TEDx and the speaking. How did you get from being born in the Emirati to getting to that?
It's a personal story, and that story is, as I mentioned, coming from a place of unhappiness, depression, and I would say actually I used to be quite suicidal when I was younger as a result of, some traumatic events, being in a place of just hatred with myself. And, everybody goes through that anywhere in the world. It's not something shameful to talk about. And that feeling of feeling like I've had enough of that negative emotions is what drove the change to see the Amna you see today. It was not because I was trying to be a rebel or change the culture or try to make things different in the society. That was not my intention. My intention was simply to take care of myself and find a way to release those feelings of pain in my body. And I found that being active, specifically being doing strong sports like require power, is what helped me. When you are somebody who has a lot of anger issues, instead of going and breaking things, I'm lifting weights and dropping them.
How did you discover that world of weightlifting?
I used to go to a university in Sharjah, and they used to have a gym. And I decided to just go to the gym there just to explore what the gym has to offer. And at that time, my focus was just to take care of like my health, lose some weight. And then I realized that actually my body likes to lift weights. I could see that I'm getting stronger bit by bit. And I like the feeling of power, the feeling of strength in my body. When you're physically weak and when you're physically strong, you do feel different in your body. You feel that you have this ability to take on more things. You get the happy hormones hit every time you go to the gym. And that led me to feeling that, you know what, let me explore this, space of CrossFit and weightlifting in much more depth. And I did that after I graduated. I continued being a fit person. And that's when I was also a journalist. So I had a full-time job when I decided that I want to take sports more seriously. Quit my job, started training for CrossFit and the Olympics.
I mean, how was that? What was the reaction of people around you? And again, taking something that I guess started as a hobby to take care of yourself, and then excelling to the level that you got to. Could you speak about that?
It was not an easy journey. It came with a lot of bumps and full stops and redirections. I learned that I needed to be very resilient to do the things that I did. Early on, back in the day, it was not very common to see an Arab woman, Emirati woman, who to do sports like weightlifting. And of course, the society at first were in shock. They did not understand what I'm trying to do and what is the message that I'm trying to give out. And there was no specific message. It was just me doing what felt right for me. And of course, it took time for people to see the difference and the importance of that. One of the things that really was evident is that my family first were not happy with my choices. I quit my job to pursue sports full time, from having an income to not knowing when I'm gonna get my next paycheck from anywhere. You know what I mean? And my family's concern was me getting injuries. Did happen, part of the package. They were concerned about how I'm gonna take care of myself. What will people say? That's a very common concept we have here in the Arab world. What will people say? شو الناس بيقولون, as we say it in our language. In the beginning, yes, I had people say negative things. Go back to the kitchen. Go back to whatever where you are. Like, we don't want to see this. Or some people said even really, really horrible things. I personally did not care, again, because I was very clear on why I was doing what I was doing. And if you have that clarity and intention in your pursuing of an activity, nothing can shake you. And for me, that is what really kept me going despite the negative comments. And with time, as people saw me being persistent with my goal, they saw, oh, Amna is actually changing things in society. Her story is showing that women can be strong and they should be strong. Again, look at everyday woman. You get you give birth, you have to carry your children. You need to have strong back muscles. You need to have strong arms. Not everybody has the support of men in their families. So in that case, you need to have that physical strength. And I'm not saying go lift weights like I did. You need that physical strength to be able to go through life, and you need that to reduce your chances of hip fractures and back issues as you grow older.
What was it that triggered you to competing in those sports? Because you have a lot of people who are going to train for CrossFit and weightlifting, but don't compete. They do it as just training, right? But what made you want to compete in those sports?
I wanted to see how far I can go with anything I do. And that's usually my motto in life. I'll pick something, an activity, and I'll see how far I can go with it. And I'll always aim for an outcome. And for me, that outcome is, I want to train for the Olympics. I had absolutely no idea what that meant. When I said that, I had absolutely no clue what it requires to train for the Olympics. I had to figure things out along the way. And I had a drive inside of me that I wanted to push myself to see what is my body is capable of. I wanted to give my body that trust that it can take me to that level of competing, to that level in for Olympic Games, Olympic qualifiers, and CrossFit. And I saw myself actually having the ability as well. So it's not everyone's cup of tea to train and compete. It does take a certain level of crazy. You need to be a bit crazy to say, I want to train for a high-level sport, because there is a lot of things that could actually impact you negatively when you train. When you're an athlete, you're not just training on a regular basis to stay strong. You're actually pushing your body beyond a certain limit. And to push yourself to a certain limit, you need to be able to accept there may be repercussions as a result of that. I was willing to take that risk. So you could say I was in a place where I wanted to risk to see what I can do, especially in my youth. I'm young, why not?
Were you aware of these, like the dedication that you would have to go through to achieve these goals before you got into it?
Not really. I was not aware of how dedicated I needed to be to compete at that high level. With CrossFit, I saw that I was training on once or twice a day, but it was not consistently twice a day. I was still working as a full-time athlete. I was still I was still working as a full-time journalist, and I was doing those things on regular basis. I had some social life. Again, once I decided I want to train for the Olympics, my experience changed completely. I had to quit my job because I was training on average 4 hours a day. You need to spend a lot of time on recovery to take care of yourself, to make sure your body is ready for the next session. Make sure your food is taken care of in the sense of how many protein you eat, how much carbs you can consume. Again, and your social life really takes a back step because by 10:30 p.m., you need to go to sleep and make sure your body has time to recover. And of course, the training itself is very taxing on the nervous system. Olympic weightlifting as a sport is a very nervous system heavy sport. So you're training your nervous system, and that takes much longer to actually recover than just sore muscles. So you're not just like, I would train for 2-3 times, a day for weeks at a time. I won't be sore, but my nervous system gets into a state of depression as well.
Right. How did you manage when you had to face the first challenges when you started to get on that journey of training to compete and basically the professional athlete journey?
I had to really learn to adjust a lot of things. First of all, adjust my expectations on what my body is capable of. You have to really load and deload. You have to understand how to do that. Getting the right coaching is very, very important. That was one of the biggest challenges I faced, is because back then we're talking 2012, 13, 14, there was no specific Olympic weightlifting scene in the UAE. It was still very early on, and I did not have the right coaches. People who were coaching, they were coming from a CrossFit background. CrossFit background, Olympic weightlifting is not like Olympic weightlifting training. It's very different. So I had to actually travel to the US at that time to train abroad to get the knowledge that I needed to get myself ready for that level of training. And that's when my training actually changed completely. I was going to 3 different gyms here, training myself at one point. Really, I was not doing well in terms of like programming. But when I went to the United States, that's when a coach who saw me competing at an event. So I competed in my first Olympic weightlifting event at the Arnold Sports Festival in 2014. I think it was 2013. It was 2013.
You can probably check the Instagram post on Amna's Insta.
It was 2013 when I competed in the Arnold Sports Festival. That was my first Olympic weightlifting event. And that's when a coach saw me and he understood how to train somebody who started at a late age. So one of the misconceptions people have about weightlifting is that you start at any age. You need to start early. You need to start early on. Usually people start with things like gymnastics, mobility work, techniques at the age of like 7 to 9. You know, as you get into a teenage years, you start to really start lifting more of the actual weights. I started when I was 22. So that was quite a while in. And at that time, your body is set into a certain dynamic, the way you move. So I did not have a good foundation when I started Olympic weightlifting. So I had to take some time to forget everything I learned when I moved to the US in 2015 to learn again how to move again properly for the sport. I had an event in North Carolina, and I remember that it was one of the most devastating events I've had. I remember going from Ohio to North Carolina and then being very excited about the event, have not competed in maybe a few months, wanted to go back to competing, just kind of get that stage experience, and the frequency is very important in weightlifting. And it was one of those events where I did not total. And if you don't total, it doesn't count. You can do a clean and jerk, but if you don't like get your snatches or whatever, you're out, you're done. And it was funny because clean and jerk is my strongest suit. The snatch was not. In that event, I snatched fine. I had only one snatch. The clean and jerk, I failed all the jerks. And they were weights that I do in my sleep. So it was not even like heavy weights or anything. It was very conservative lift. And I remember feeling very disappointed right afterwards. And I kind of was sulking for a while. And when you don't total as an athlete, you know, you need to have the combination of the snatch and the clean and jerk together for you to have a total, for it to be on the board. It was really devastating for me mentally, emotionally. It took me a while to bounce back from that one. And I remember, like, there's a lot of unexpected elements in weightlifting that people don't realize. So this is coming back to me as I'm talking, and it's really exciting me again. As you lift, you usually put a weight you want to enter with that you plan to be your first lift. And you have other athletes before you, after you, whatever it is. And you think you have X amount of time to warm up to that lift. But any athlete, any minute, up to a certain point, can change their starting number. And that pushes you down. So you have to go earlier. And in that event, I had to basically skip maybe almost 10 kilos on my lift in my warm-up and go and lift on the clean and jerk. And that kind of took me out of my familiarity and how I'm used to lifting.
Yeah.
So I think, it's important to learn about unpredictability in any sport, especially when it can change the way things are set. So there is a dynamic that you have to work with, and you have to work with yourself and your own body readiness during weightlifting. And I think it's really cool, though, because I learned, I think, how to adapt as a result of those kind of experiences in my weightlifting. You have to learn how to pivot, shift, and move things as things are happening. And I think it's really also a lesson that's important, that you need to recreate moments like this in your training. And that is something that is not very common in training. You train in a very specific way at 5 kilos, 7 kilos, whatever, but you will not jump 10, 15 kilos from one lift to the other. And 10 kilos on the bar, massive in Olympic weightlifting. It's not a small amount. So the lesson in this is it's important to be adaptable, to work with a certain level of unpredictability when you're an athlete, and also recreate those moments while you are training. So when it happens in real time, you don't freak out.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's important in life in general, to be ready for unpredictable things to happen. So it's great.
Yeah.
And how do you keep the motivation?
Oh, I had a lot of depressive episodes along the way. And this is something you don't hear a lot of people talk about. But as an athlete, you can go through severe depression at times because, again, you're overtraining and you're not getting enough time to recover, but you have a goal you want to achieve. So you push yourself in a certain way. And it did take a bit of time for me to find my balance through therapy, through deloading at the right time, making sure I eat well enough, taking the right supplements, making sure recovery is part of the program.
And then when you said you moved to America, was that specifically just for that then?
Absolutely.
So it's like a huge, massive change. When I'm thinking about your life, you're at university, then you're a journalist, and then you're in that world. Do you have any, I guess, insights for someone else watching this, like who just nothing to do with the cultural side? We'll get into that later, just purely from an athletic standpoint. That tunnel vision, and as Clem said, the discipline and the motivation. Now with the knowledge and experience you have, what could you say to someone who else is looking up to you to follow in that?
I would say be very clear on your goal and why you want to achieve that goal. But don't be afraid to also change the reason when you find yourself questioning why you are pursuing this goal. It's important to have support and have a community around you that is willing to support you when you need it. Don't be afraid to ask for help or seek coaches, seek therapists. Even sports psychologists are very important to help when you are in a point where you feel stuck. Because there were times where I felt stuck while I was lifting weights. There's times you're lifting the weight and it's not even going anywhere. You're just deadlifting it. And you've seen that with athletes on the Olympics where they just pick the weight, nothing happens. It's purely mental. It's a very mental sport. And you need to know when you are ready to take that step. And it's okay to take the time to understand what you need to do to get to that point. At the same time, it's okay to take a step back and reassess your goals and your choices. It's not something to be ashamed of. What I would recommend or what I would say is, do not be stubborn in your ways. That would be the bottom line that I would send a message to anybody who wants to follow any path in life. Because being stubborn in your ways may block you from actually seeing a different way of doing things that might be better and even easier. So allow others, listen to them, especially those who've walked your path, because they see something that you may not see. And always believe in yourself.
And do you have any examples of that then in this career where I guess someone helped you to see something in a different way and then you transitioned?
Oh God, so many stories.
Maybe the most important one.
This is one I need to think like a lot for this one though. As a person, I'm very stubborn. As a person, when I want to do something, I just want to do it my way. And I always believe my way is the right way. It's my way or the highway.
I was about to just say that.
Yeah, you should. It's my way. I mean, hey, they came here, you know. You know, sometimes your way can serve you up to a certain point, but then being open to suggestions can really change your perspective. For example, one of my coaches told me in the US, and this is not necessarily very specific to the sport itself, but it's a perspective that they saw I did not see at that time. And they told me, Amna, I think you're doing weightlifting because it gives you a sense of freedom. It was not about the sport. It was about what the sport gave me. And since then, I did actually agree that the sport gave me a sense of freedom I did not feel before. It gave me the freedom to travel and have a reason to travel. It gave me a freedom to express my body in different ways. I did not realize I could do that. So at that time, actually, I was sitting between a certain decision that I had to make as well, because I had a really severe back injury around the same time of the Olympic qualification. And I had to make a choice whether I'm going to go on and do that event, train for it, after having taken a couple of months off. 2 months off weightlifting, it's like as if you've been off lifting for 2 years. So it was quite massive for me to go back. So I had to go back and train completely in a different way, completely approach training from a new perspective. Even the days I used to train became so much more less, but I still managed to do more.
Wow. So this is the perfect example of less is more.
Yes, exactly. It's all about, again, changing your perspective, asking somebody who's an expert in what you're doing to help you actually get closer to your goals. When it was time to ramp up the number of training sessions, we did that when it was the time. But leading up to that time, I was training maybe 3-4 times a week. On average, I was training 5-6 times a week with double squat days a day. Only a few people will understand what that feels like. It's painful. You don't have no legs anymore. So that's where I had to learn how to step out of my own way and stop being stubborn and believing my way is the right way, into actually believing there's a better way to do things.
Because it's hard to get the balance, because maybe the stubbornness in you, and I'm saying this as quite a stubborn person myself, is what led you to believe I can do this. Despite some people, as you said, go to the kitchen, whatever.
Yeah.
Your stubbornness is probably one of the key reasons for the beginning of your success.
Absolutely.
But then we have to humble ourselves, and it's a vulnerable position. No one likes being told, you know, now it's time to change. But by doing that, it seems like your results in the long term were much better.
And during all of this, what did you find about yourself?
That's the beautiful thing about those kind of stories and journeys. You think it's about the sport, you think it's about the outcome, you think it's about the goal. It's not. It's about learning about who you are and what you're made of. I learned that I'm resilient. I learned that I'm somebody, even if I fall down, I will bounce back. Even if it takes me time, I will bounce back and I'll come back stronger. And I will not be stronger on a physical sense. I'll be stronger emotionally and mentally, and I'll have better tools to deal with whatever life throws at me. And learning how to become your own best friend and your own cheerleader. I would say that's one of the most important things in life, is that, yes, having a community is very important. Having support system is very important. But you need to learn how to self-fulfill yourself and be sufficient within yourself on how you manage your own expectations, how you manage your own disappointments, because in the end of the world will keeps on moving, and then there's just you standing, you and your emotions. Nobody can change that for you. Only you can change that. And I learned from the moment I took that step to walk, I have the power in me to really control my emotions. I have the power in me to take the lead of my own life and take it to where I want it to go.
And what you mentioned before, coming back to this mental health area, and it's all in the mind, because I know you're an advocate for that. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts. But we interviewed a few weeks ago, it will be up soon, an interview with the powerlifter in Team GB. And he said that same thing of where maybe in training, you lifted that weight and you've done it maybe multiple times before. But then when you're actually there on the day, for like some days it goes up, some days it doesn't. So what lessons did you learn about that mental in terms of how do you ensure that on the day or when you need to do it, it goes, you can actually move that weight? Because it must be so frustrating. I'm thinking about it that you know you can do it, but then it just doesn't happen, right?
Yep. You know, one of the things that I learned is the importance of visualizations. That's really important, and actually in any sport, in any activity that you do, because it even shows that even by visualizing that you're lifting weights, your muscles actually can improve by 30%, you know? And that is a huge number. For a very long time, I would actually, like, when I was not lifting, I would imagine myself lifting. Just feel the bar, feel the weight, just feel how it feels like. Telling myself I can handle it. That is one word that really changed everything in my life. Before I lift the weight, I can handle it. You know, it's like me or the bar. It's going to be me. You know what I mean? So you tell yourself those things, a lot of like self-talk, a lot of positive talk does make a difference. I'm not saying it works all the time, but it has been proven that it does make a difference. Even there is like, you know, experiments where you can say certain words and see how your body reacts. If you tell yourself you're weak, you will not be able to push as hard. If you tell your body it's strong, it will be able to push. And the mind doesn't understand whether it's true or not. It just trusts what you're repeating to it.
The mind doesn't know the weight, right, on the bar.
It does not. It does not. You just, you know, what you believe. And the more you repeat something to yourself, the more it becomes true. So it's all about having those like tools to understand how to navigate those times. There are times where, you know, as a woman, I get a period, and the period affects my lifting ability. It affects my balance. So I need to take that into consideration. Some days I've had bad lifting days as a result of that. I accept it. I move on. How can I improve my balance during this time? Maybe there is some exercises. Or maybe just not compete around those times if there is no important events.
There's always a way. And I think that it's obviously applicable to being an athlete and your sport of weightlifting. But even with the podcast, Clem will know that before we go to a podcast, I just say, the podcast is going to be great. We're going to have a great podcast today, and it's happening, you know? And I think that is so powerful, because imagine on the opposite, right? It's so normal. We all have self-doubt, self-negativity. I think everyone has that at one point or another.
Yeah.
So it seems like the training physically really has been backed up by you training your mind to reverse the self-doubt that I think everyone falls into at some point or another.
You may not be given all the tools or infrastructure or, you know, systems in place to support in the beginning, and that's okay. Early on, things were not that laid out on a silver platter the way people would assume. I had to really struggle a lot to really make things happen. And I look back at myself, and I think it's important to take a moment to be proud of yourself in any journey that you take in your life, because really pushing yourself physically, it's one of the most challenging and one of the most that really shows your character, I would say. It's one of the things that really shows your character in life. And sports really help build characters. And if there is anything I would suggest or say is that pick a sport, doesn't matter what it is. Pick something, an activity, something that shows you who you are from inside. Allow yourself to feel the joy. Allow yourself to feel the sadness, the disappointment. They are part of the journey. and learn who you are through movement.
It's a tough one to mention as well, but you have mentioned that during the journey there was injury as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind? I know it's not a particularly happy topic to speak about, but it's part of the sport, right? So how did you, I guess, deal with that, and what are the, like, now that you've got that experience, is there any advice on dealing with injuries that you'd give to someone else who wants to also have this journey?
So I got injured in end of 2015, just 4 months shy away from the Olympic qualifiers. And it was a disc and it was sciatica. So I basically had pain radiating down my left leg. I just one day could not get out of bed. I was completely stuck. I couldn't move. And I had to call a friend to come pick me up to go to the doctor because I couldn't drive or anything. And even picking up like a water bottle, I would feel a radiating pain into my spine. Just something like as small as this. When you're a weightlifter and then you're humbled by carrying this water bottle,
doesn't make sense.
Emotionally, it can really crush you. And it's normal to feel that. I decided to take some rest after that and reassess whether it's worth continuing training for the Olympics or not. And I decided, Amna, I have given up so much in my life for this moment. I'm willing to put in the work and see what happens with no expectation at that time. And that's when I realized like the power of my mind, the power of my body, and its ability to adapt to what I wanted to adapt to. But also after the Olympic qualifiers, which we qualified for the 2016 Rio Olympics, I had a second highest point within the team to qualify the team to the Olympics. At the same time, I had the highest point as an Arab woman competing in my weight category. I learned that after the qualification, I was not the one chosen to compete because of my back injury. I had my limitation. I was okay with that. I made peace with it. I accepted it. You know, when you have an injury that can change your life, it's also a time to reassess something. It also challenges you and your goals and why you do something. When I first started Olympic weightlifting, it was mainly for my mental health, and I wanted to see how far I can go. When I decided to continue, I decided to continue because I wanted to finish it. Not because for my mental health, not because for the sponsors or for the people or for the clubs or for any of it. I didn't care about that. I wanted to be somebody who chooses to do something and decides to finish it.
Just imagine there's someone watching now who has faced some of the challenges that you faced and they're just about to compete.
Mm-hmm.
And you're their trainer and they have some self-doubt. And what would you tell them?
Have fun.
Right.
Go out and have fun. Enjoy the experience. That's the most important part of competing. We take it too seriously.
Right.
I think the best events I've had is the ones I had fun. It's the ones where I was like, okay, I'm gonna go lift some weight. Woo! You know, those were like the best days, honestly. The days where I felt very anxious about like getting the total or the numbers, they're the days where I didn't do my best. But the days I was just very excited to touch the bar and lift in front of people, that was like the best time. So if anybody out there who wants to compete, just go have fun with it. Just have fun.
And what was the funnest and best memory for you in all of the weightlifting and CrossFit, everything, in all of the athletic career?
Wow.
What was the best moment?
Really, I would say the best and most fun events I've had was at the Arnold Sports Festival. Those were amazing. Like you're just surrounded like 15,000 athletes doing different sports. You're in a place just around by athletes and like the environment is so cool. I had some of my best lifts in the Arnold Sports Festival in 2015. I remember that event very well. I lifted perfectly. Everything was like on point, the technique. You know, for me, that was the main thing. I used to care about the technique more than the numbers. And I think that's what matters the most. If you focus on the technique, the numbers will sort themselves out.
Right.
So just have fun and focus on what you know, what to do. That's it.
But speaking of the numbers, though, could you share some? I know there's going to be people who...
I don't want... My numbers were not that great. I don't want to talk about my numbers. They can Google them and find them on Instagram and on the International World Federations.
This is humility here. I'm sure on the Instagram we can check these things out. But thank you so much for that overview, Amna. And now to get into the cultural, and I know you're very passionate about speaking about stigma. And I'm sure, we spoke recently with our Saudi friend Khalid about how in the West we were told this about Arabs. And then with him as well, how in the Khaliji countries, how they saw us.
Yes.
And it's just interesting to hear about that. But from your experience, could you just speak to us openly about what you think about stigma and how someone can overcome it? And what's life really like, despite, let's not listen to the media, let's listen to the actual Emirati woman at the moment. So.
Thank you for that. I think stigma is something that existed since the beginning of times in every culture. And what's beautiful about my religion, Islam, is that it talks about people getting to know each other, to learn about each other. And I think it's the beautiful thing about this podcast, like I was telling you, like there's so much diversity within like what you guys do. And I think it's so beautiful to educate. And I think that's how stigma is removed and completely gone, is through education, through learning about each other, through experiences. You say you come to Dubai and you experience Dubai, like, it's not how it's portrayed in the media. It's a place where everybody's living peacefully, everybody is happy, everybody has opportunities, everybody has a place to feel that they are home. And, there's a lot of stigma around, Arab women as well, that we're in a specific way or we dress in a specific way. Yes, there are certain provisions in place for women to dress in a certain way, and it's, religion related, and that is something to be respected. It's not something that is not a choice. When I say it's not a choice, or when I say it is a choice, it is your choice as a woman to do that. We say in Islam, لا إكراه في الدين. There is no hate in religion. So God does not want you to do something out of hate or anger. That's, the stigma around, our region here sometimes. And it's more about your own personal experiences that you have. I live in a country where, women are allowed to do everything. I mean, I'm weightlifting. You have women who are mechanics. You have women who are pilots. You have women who are doing all kind of field work if that's what they want to do. Again, it's a choice. And knowing what your choices are in life and choosing something is how you remove the stigma as well. I realized my journey as an athlete became a journey of advocacy for women in the region on so many levels, on mental health, on women being athletes. And that really opened up the light abroad. It opened up the vision for others from outside to see, oh, wow, women in the region are doing this. I'm like, yeah, we are doing this. It's not something to be ashamed of. Again, it's a choice that I, as a woman, as Amna, I want to do. It's available to me, and it's up to me to take that opportunity if I want it.
At what moment did you realize that your journey was not only to succeed in sports, but also to changing perceptions?
It started when I was getting a lot of media requests. I was getting interviewed by big publications like the BBC, CNN, and all of those reached out to me because they were interested in the story of me being an athlete. At that time, I was covered as well, doing Olympic weightlifting. It was very unusual. Even for the region, it was unusual. But then with time, people saw that actually sport really helps change the narrative in the sense of how the world sees women in this region. And nowadays, even here, the culture, our leadership are opening the doors on so many levels for women and everybody to be active. We have the Dubai Fitness Challenge. We have the Dubai Games. In the summer, we have a marathon where people go and walk together. So it's a city full of opportunities and allowing everyone to participate. And I think, my advocacy journey started on mental health. It started way early on. As a woman in the sports field, I would say it started a couple of years into my weightlifting career, because I saw that people were very keen and curious about what I'm doing. I even had Saudi man actually reach out to me, and he's like, Amna, I would like to get my wife to do Olympic weightlifting and sport. Can you give us some advice? And by people hearing my story in the region, realize that they can reach out and connect and ask how to do it, and that there is no shame in being active.
You didn't necessarily ask for it, but it's a big pressure to deal with that.
Did you ever feel like the media, through your experiences with the media in the West, they were focused on more your identity or your actual career in sports?
My identity. And that's a big, big topic I spoke about a lot as well. Because also I was part of the team that created the Nike Sports Hijab in 2016. So when I was living in the United States, I was flown to Portland to work on giving my thoughts on what would Arab women need. And that's where you started to see a shift. They stopped thinking about, oh, let's talk about what she's wearing. Let's help her in what she's wearing so she can be a good athlete. And that's when you started to see more the media changing the narrative. But unfortunately, till this day, I still think the media are focusing a lot on the fact a woman is from this region, she's covered, not covered, as the highlight of the story. And that is so sad because we have so many talented women in the region who are very capable as athletes. And I think focusing on their sports career is very important to, again, encourage women to believe that they have a career in this field. It's not about, oh, I will put on a scarf or I will dress in a certain way to get the attention of the media. Even for me, I didn't even think about the fact I found out that I was the first in what I was doing through the media. I had no idea, I was, okay, okay, cool. But again, at one point it became hurtful to have, that's the only way my identity was being portrayed as, Arab, covered, Muslim, Emirati. There was a lot of stigma around it. At that time, it seemed like, yes, let's talk about that. Let's change the story. But then when I look back at it now, I'm like, but what about my success? What about the medals I received? Yeah. What about the numbers, my placings, the competitions I competed at that actually made a difference in the qualification? Where is that? Where are those stories?
I think that's why it's so important that for the structure of this conversation, we had that value first, just because there's a million stories out there already of this topic. Of just so much focus on that, completely ignoring those achievements, right? So it's something that is there, but it seems like you're in a good place now where you feel that, okay, it might be there, but you're living your life and you're doing what you're doing. So to, I guess, someone else, either someone who has a similar background, maybe they're Muslim or Khaliji or to that, but even someone who's not watching this, everyone is labeled at some point or another, for good or for bad. What's your advice just to not let that affect you so much? Because you mentioned before, there were negative comments before. Yeah. I'm sure, we know we have a channel. You get negative comments every day. How do you overcome that and still live a good life, succeed despite kind of what else is going on, the other conversations?
In life, you only have yourself, really. You come to this world alone and you die alone. That's the truth. And throughout what happens throughout this experience, learn to be your own best friend, to not allow others and opinions of, the media or anything that might be negative, that's not supportive of you in your journey, to affect you. The more you are very clear, again, with your intention and in your pursuing of an activity, that clarity needs to be so set in stone that nothing can shake you. And that takes time to build that kind of strength, inner strength, let's call it. And with time, you learn those tools. And sometimes you learn it through actually being pushed down, deciding to listen to somebody else, and then realizing it was straying you from your actual goal. So having that strength, inner strength, to stay very clear along the path is very important.
So, well, your journey is very inspiring, and you've probably inspired women across the world. But have you ever heard a story of someone you've inspired that stayed with you?
Wow. the most inspirational things I've received that inspires me to keep on going is the stuff I received from kids.
Right.
So I have my story is written in a book called Good Night Stories for Rebel Girls.
Okay.
And this book has made it all over the world. I have people from like Serbia messaging me, people from like Italy, Spain, like US, Arab world, and I see these kids dressing up as me on their like World Sports Day and I cannot say specifically one because honestly all of them inspire me. And it makes me realize that, the power of our story really can impact so many others, whether it's women, men, children, it can impact anybody. We cannot specify and think our journey is specific to women only. And just seeing them feeling inspired and trusting that they can be strong and knowing that they can be strong is a very important message. And honestly, I'm very humbled by it. And I'm like, oh, I did weightlifting for me, but like the world is really accepting it and adopting it. And like the kids are enjoying it. And a while back, I had a school message me, and there's all these like maybe 12 kids in the video. Like my heart is so melted, and they were all just messaging me, "Hi, Miss Amna, we love you." La, la, la. I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna start crying, and it's just so beautiful, that to receive that, it's very beautiful, and it keeps me going as well as much as it makes me want to inspire others through my actions. I inspire people through action. I don't want to tell them what to do. Just, you know, yeah.
Yeah, actions speak louder than words sometimes.
Yes, yes.
And I think it's the case where often coming from, again, the Western background is that we're often speaking for other people, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Khaliji women are like this, Muslim women, Emirati. I think it's important to just, instead of speak for them, actually just listen to them. Like, I can tell you what it's like for me as a British man growing up, and I have to listen to you for you to tell me what your upbringing was like and what the challenges are, rather than me telling you, you went through this. How was it? It's like, no.
Right.
I have to ask you what you went through. And again, a lot of the challenges, it's not the typical challenges we're thinking of. It's different. Your sports challenges and athletic challenges, it doesn't really have, it's just way more complex, I think.
It is. It has a lot of layers, when I pursued my Olympic weightlifting journey, I didn't realize how much I was fighting against. I was fighting against myself, fighting against what is accepted in society at the time, fighting against, the media and what they want to portray us. Again, it was so multi-layered, and the story itself is still unfolding to me. I'm still learning about my journey the more I talk about it. When I share my journey, I'm not telling you I know everything I experienced and it's already like I'm repeating the same information. Each time it's a different realization about my journey. And I learned it through talking to people about it and the questions you ask. And that's why I told you I don't want specific questions, just, just guidance. And like, I never know what will come out when we talk because I reflect back on the spot on certain things that felt very irrelevant at the time, only to realize later on it was actually very significant.
Yeah.
And I mean, we named the podcast Evolve for basically these moments where, you're not saying it's finished, but at the same time, as you said it, you're part of a story that keeps unfolding. And I'm curious to know then, since you started your journey, weightlifting, or even just in your lifetime, have you seen big changes in Dubai, in the Middle East? What changes have you seen? How much has changed so far?
Yeah. Massive changes, massive. There is much more infrastructure. There is much more push for women in general and people to become athletes and train. And, now they have a big thing with like obstacle course race and things like that. You have all kind of different events happening in Dubai that are just pushing people Hierarchs was there as well. So you have all those things that were not there before and are very much pushed. And people are taking time off like their work to train for them. You have the Dubai Games that is like a lot of, big event that happens once a year. And, you have government entities, private companies, everybody involved. And it says a lot about the sport industry and the fitness industry in Dubai and how much it has changed in the last 15 years. I've seen it unfold in so many ways. And of course, back then, again, it was not something common. And now it's something, on the contrary, it's actually being pushed as an option and it's encouraged for people to take part of, because in Dubai, like even in life, like being active and movement is so essential in our life. If we're not moving, nothing is changing. But if you're moving, you're really creating a shift and change. And again, it's action. Taking action is really important.
Mm-hmm. And in light of those changes, what is your vision for the future in this regard?
I would say my hope and my wish to see is more programs that are set in place in two parts. One is actually develop athletes to become Olympians, especially Emirati athletes. That's still something that's not a goal yet, but would be nice to see that as a goal. Secondly, integrated systems for those who are no longer competing and are retired athletes like myself. One of the biggest challenges I am facing is how to integrate my knowledge, my experiences since I've retired from competing. And where do I fit? Most people immediately would think coaching. But the coaching is not the only path that anyone can take right after their Olympic experience or sport journey. There is many different kind of paths you can take. It could take leadership path. You can take training employees and well-being path. And so far, there is no set programs or integrated systems that takes an individual like me who has a lot of different skills and knowledge and how to direct that in a way that could support the system as a whole. So every effort I've made has been individual effort. Me reaching out to companies maybe reach out to me speaking in the media. But I wish there is a place that would, let's say, adopt me and build and take from my skills and expand it into something bigger, into bigger programs.
We've seen even in the West a lot of changes in the recent years in regards to women in sports, because it seems like it's more promoted now, and there are more, for example, I follow football. You can see more women games on TV. And I think it's a very good change. There was the Euros, the Women Euro recently in Switzerland. They had a lot of there were the footballs in the street and these kind of things. So how do you see the future of women in sport, or how would you like it to be, let's say, in the next 20 years? And how do you see that evolving?
The way I would like women in sports evolve in the region, I would say, is funding. Funding. A lot women sports drive the most viewership and the most sponsorships and event economy and all of that. And women, on the other hand, the athlete herself is not even getting peanuts from that. And that is something that has really been a challenging journey for a lot of women in the region, whether it's for women athlete podcast or women who are in team sports, individual athletes. If you compare what men are receiving versus what women are receiving, even though women athletes are getting a lot more exposure and are more has more viewership, it's still not receiving the same amount of support with their training, with their competition gear, and all of that stuff. So I would love to see that change in the next 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And speaking of change and vision for the future now, I think we can move to the final area of the conversation, which is Amna's life in 2025 and beyond. Your work. I know you're an entrepreneur now, right? Would you describe yourself as?
Yeah, I consider myself an entrepreneur. I consider myself as somebody who's very dynamic. I call myself somebody who moves people and moves things. And that's what I do. Everything that I do in my work has to do with movement in terms of talking. So I move people with my words. I give talks and as a inspirational speaker in different events. I do like well-being workshops in companies and organizations. And also I, work in real estate. So I move people physically homes. And I personally move myself through music, through dance and other activities that I do. So I create my own reality that I want to manifest in this world by doing the things that I love. What does that look like in terms of a business title? Still not there yet. Does it matter? Absolutely not. Again, movement means being open to changes. And that's how I see myself. My main work is in real estate. And my other work is in through talks and inspirational speaking. And there's also writing. Writing is a big part of my journey. I am in the process of working on a book. It's still unfolding, looking for, people's support in the process, but it's an unfolding journey as well.
The transition of going from a professional athlete to then doing work that's outside, of the physical side. How was that? How did you build that into, okay, now I'm not going to be physically lifting these weights, but I'm going to inspire people?
Yeah.
How did you set that up? Because you even before you were lifting, you were speaking, but now I guess it's something more. Is that a main focus of yours now then? Would you say the motivational speaking and that kind of thing?
Yes, absolutely. It's one of my main core activities that I do. It's a big part of what I do as well. And through talking, I talk about usually well-being, general well-being, mental health, women empowerment, and women encouragement as well to take a lead in their life and take the right steps forward to support themselves in life.
So for young people, what would be, and not just in sports, in life in general, like a habit or like a mindset shift that you think they should have?
I would say the mindset is keep on moving, and it's also take a break and assess what happened. It's okay to reflect back. Like I reflected back on that journey and I realized where I could have done things differently, where my coach could have also helped me as well in a different way. And these things do happen. Not every time in life you will win. And I think it's a very important lesson, especially for young athletes and for their parents, especially. You do not always win in life. It doesn't mean you've lost. It's a lesson. It teaches you character. It teaches you how to do things differently next time. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. And I think in life, we attach a lot of our identity and self-worth to outcomes, to titles, to goals, forgetting that we are whole as we are as human beings. And what we experience is just that, an experience. It's not something we have to take on as part of our identity.
And you mentioned just in the previous part there about adapting. Maybe the final question we can ask you today is, you moved to the US. And I know Dubai is extremely international as well. And so there it is, but it's still pretty different.
Very.
So adapting as an Emirati, as a Khaliji, as an Arab in America, how was that for you? And how did you overcome that kind of new experience?
So I went to the Midwest. So I was in Ohio. Very different. Green, cornfields. I wanted something different, actually. I wanted to experience a different way of living, a different culture, a different life. It was very different. It was very quiet there. It's not nothing like how it is here, where it's dynamic. Everything is open till all day, 24 hours. While there, it was open till maybe by 5 o'clock, things would just start to close down. And I'm like, what's going on? You cannot order food. You have to there's a specific way to, you wait an hour to get your food. And, it was a very humbling experience. And it really taught me patience, and it taught me to slow down. And I think that is something I learned when I was away, and I had to take care of myself in a very different way. So here at home, you know, we have helps who can support with certain activities around the house. And when I was in the US, I had to really take care of myself and be an adult. That is when maybe most people would be an adult by 18. For us here, it's a little bit different because of the culture providing certain things for you. It can be a bit of a bubble. So actually living on my own was a life experience, a lifetime experience, not even a life experience, it was like a lifetime experience that taught me about myself and who I am and how to change and just realize things are different everywhere. But what I loved about Ohio is that people are very community based and they're very family focused. So I was adopted in many ways through like my neighbor who was like 70-year-old lady. And I remember one night my apartment door got frozen, stuck from the ice.
Definitely, that's not happening in
No,
Dubai.
that was like, wait a minute, I cannot enter my own apartment. I need to call for
no.
help. So my neighbor took me in until that was sorted. And I just found a community everywhere I went, you know, and people were very supportive. When I had an injury, somebody would help me, take me to the doctor. When I needed like some support, people showed up. And I think everywhere in the world there is good. And I think that is the main message. There is good everywhere in the world. And you need to just find it, believe in it, and trust it's there.
We've asked you about giving advice to young people, but what if you could go back in time and meet Amna?
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell her? And also for the future, what do you want your legacy to be?
Beautiful question. My answer when it comes to going back to my younger self, it's not possible. I can do it in meditation and in therapy. But if there's anything I would do, I would just hug her for everything she has endured to allow me to be this Amna today.
Right.
She was who she was meant to be, so I can be who I'm meant to be. And the legacy I want to create in the future, and I'm building as I grow, as I evolve myself, is create a safe space and create a place where there is compassion in the world and for people to feel they are seen, heard, loved, regardless of what they are, where they come from, what they're doing. And I would like to do it through a means of movement. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what that looks like yet, but it is in the evolving stage.
That's it.
Yeah.
On that note, so people watching this can follow that evolution. I know you've got an Instagram, but what links can we provide to someone who wants to maybe get in touch or check out the rest of the work that you've done?
People can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm active there. I have my own website, which is www.amnaalhaddad.com.
On screen.
And I'm mainly active on Instagram, and I'm pretty much available by email as well, which is hello@amnaalhaddad.com. And I always respond to my messages and emails, and I look forward to getting to know people from the world.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
شكرا. Thank you so
العفو أشكركم على هالمقابلة الجميلة.
It's been a really beautiful conversation.
And inspiring.
Gracias, and the word's not coming. Gracias, no, I forgot the words. I know them. I know how to say thank you.
Say merci.
Merci. Yeah. Gracias, merci in Italian.
Grazie.
Yeah. No, but like in Spanish, it's
Gracias.
It's similar.
Very similar.
Yeah.
I didn't know
it's like in Arabic, shukran. In Urdu, shukriya. You can kind of see where it comes from.
I did not know that. How did I not know that? Okay.
But huge gratitude to you, Amna, for breaking it down today. It's an extremely inspirational story indeed. And of course, to anyone watching, you know where to find Amna now. We'll put all the links in the description box below. Also, we want to know your comments. Where are you viewing from? Can you relate? Do you agree or disagree to what we said? Let us know everything in the comments below. Please do click the like button if you enjoyed it and consider subscribing, as it helps us to have more amazing conversations like this. But until next time, shukran, ma salama.
مع السلامة.